Two, and one. So the Philippines needs to make a choice. Do they hedge their bets on protecting and focusing their priorities on land or water? The debate is that simple. OO cannot seem to engage on that particular point. A lot of responses towards opposition bench. One, opening opposition makes this debate farmer versus fisherman. This is a useless debate for two reasons. One, there is no answer to this because both are important. So if OO wants to deadlock this issue, we have no problem in giving them that deadlock. Two, farmers have the Department of Agriculture, urban people have the Department of Urban Development. So all of the call-outs they say they need help in has representation currently in the Philippine government. There's your solution. Obviously, they still have representation, but the trade-off that we are saying is we'd rather put them on the back foot where we can better utilize water resources right now. Two, the golden characterization that OO just missed is on the prioritization of action coming from Joseph. Like, Elo can't just say that capitalism is incongruent with the facets of environmentalism when Joseph points out the reality of environmental efforts needing to be based on policy, needing to be based on action coming from money. So yeah, I'm really sorry that the world doesn't operate on goodwill, but opposition seems to not understand how money is used. OG explains how money and environmental effort can lead to all of the change that we want. Thirdly, the thing with the environmental conservation is that on both sides you burn and run through resources. The problem in status quo, wherein we have a balanced approach or skew towards agricultural and land resources, is that given the little development we've seen in our nascent and underdeveloped agricultural sector, people are literally already losing hope. So this calls us to have a switch in strategy to try another approach. So this is a response towards LO's main argument in saying that there are already environmental policy going on right now. Even if there is, it's not likely to be successful. Fourth, opposition might say, why would this be more successful now? It's because there are more marine and water resources than land resources. 70% of the world's surface area is covered in water, and that affects us more in terms of touch points given our archipelagic nature. Coupled with the rise of Chinese aggression, this is the perfect strategy to garner support from the Philippines, Asia, and the world to be able to harvest marine resources and also protect our borders. Lastly, as to what Joseph says, response to this isn't about who is more vulnerable. Both are vulnerable, and on both sides there are specific ways to help them. However, the lack of opportunity and attention towards marine resources makes it an underutilized approach. It is worth the redirection. Before the extension, whoever said that POI, I'll take it now.
70% of the world is water. 100% of people live on land. What's your point?
The point is, more people can probably take care of the land because they live on it. So if it's a matter of priority, the 70% is probably more important to take notice of and to take care of. Extension. On pragmatic benefit, why the benefit that you get from marine conservation are not only going to last you longer, but it offers you a more unique and diverse set of benefits. Again, I'll respond to their POI also. The first mechanism is on diminishing returns. Right now, land conservation and all other environmental efforts are already probably prioritized towards other things within status quo. As a result, whatever impact and benefit opposition bench claims becomes increasingly less useful and less effective insofar as there already are a lot of environmental policy and environmental organizations that directly prioritize it. Why is marine conservation comparatively going to offer a lot more useful benefits for the Philippines? A, the Philippines is surrounded by water. A vast majority of the natural phenomena and that we experience are some water-based event. Solution, preserving natural resources found in water like coral reefs, like other marine barriers, inherently pose a strong defense against incredibly harmful storms from becoming worse. Note that this natural protection is just so much more valuable and effective than all of the other land-based solutions that exist in status quo or any man-made solution that opposition might suggest, given that the Philippines barely has enough money to do literally anything. Impact. If this debate is a matter of priority, side government suggests that putting your eggs in a more useful basket is probably better because it enables you to survive and protect your land longer. But even if you don't believe that, right, and this debate is about strategic investment and opportunity, then there exists very little room for improvement on side opposition. There are clear indicators that the choice the Philippines needs to make, needs to be strategic and smart. Opposition is neither. The second mechanism focuses on inherent recoverability. That is to say, the other resources that can be reused are comparatively easier to recover when you're on land as opposed to on when when you are in water. It's simple, right? Trees are comparatively easier to recover and regrow. Animals and farms are comparatively a lot more easier to reuse. The capacity for us on opening government to do work on land is inherently faster than our capacity to do work on water. Water, on the other hand, takes significantly longer time to replenish. When you let our natural coral reefs die, when you continue to pollute our freshwater reserves and pollute our seas and oceans with dangerous chemicals, the area and effect of that harm is comparatively incredibly harder to contain. Impact. Note that this is incredibly integrative to the case that Joseph brought forth, because this debate affects the future probably more than it does affect the present. So the future will have a harder time to save whatever happens in the Philippines, because they will have to deal with unresponsive and unsafe water environment for the future. Lastly, the last mechanism is just on pure bureaucracy and capacity for reformation, given the fact that all of the people, as to what LO said in their POI, live on locations of land. It's probably going to be easier to deal with land-related stuff. On the comparative, these fishermen don't even live in water. They spend some time there, but inherently the space that like water lives in is comparatively harder to like control and to regulate. That is why, just purely on pragmatics or purely on being able to save what we can and save the opportunity that presents itself, it's probably going to be water that needs a lot of investment towards. How should you weigh our contribution? Joseph explained quite clearly the clear burden of why it needs to be aggressive. Like he explains quite clearly that all of the other stuff that we prioritize haven't amounted to much. We should probably try water insofar as it's probably going to be a better and more strategic more strategic opportunity for us. I have given you the reasons as to why, comparative to other stuff on land, water is just harder to actually get control of. So if you need and if you want to actually make sure that it stays and it's preservant, then we probably need to focus on it aggressively. For all of those reasons, very, very proud to propose.